Greetings. Welcome to Into the Light. My name is Donald Schmid, and the topic of today's show is Stay in the Moment. For many years, I was all over the place. I was like worried about where I was going and what had happened in the past and what was me, a nice guy like me, what happened to me. And when it's like yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift. That's why we call it the present. We all have a story. We've all been through stuff. I was born on June 7th, 1954 on a Monday. And it was supposed to be a joyous occasion. And there were complications in my birth. And my mother had a nervous breakdown. And I was saddled with the guilt and the anxiety for 40 years, saying that if I hadn't been born, my mommy wouldn't be sick. And she had a problem too, because she suffered from mental illness and, anxiety disorders and everything. And what happens is we have a heritage, and it goes back. It goes back hundreds of years and thousands of years, and there's a bloodline, and there's a generational curses, and it can be alcoholism or prostitution or drug use or mismanaging funds, and it could be a whole lot of things. And I had a Christian counselor, and I had a pain in my back, over by my cheek over here. And I had it from like 18 months to 24 months. And she said, Donald, you have to forgive all your ancestors. And I forgave them, and she says, now, Donald, you have to say, it wasn't my fault. And I said, I forgave them, and I said it wasn't my fault. And I was crying. And I was going across the street to Planet Fitness on Forest Avenue, and I noticed that I didn't have the pain in my back because I had forgiven them, and I experienced a relief and a release. And I was pain-free, and the pain hasn't come back, except recently I had some muscular problems and wound up going to the doctor, to check it out, but it wasn't related to, the bitterness, the angerness, the resentment, and the unforgiveness, So that happened like so many years ago, and, fear will try to keep us from going forward. And when I put gratitude into my attitude, and I ask people how they're doing, legitimately, and I legitimately care, life is a whole lot simpler, And I've had a lot of opportunities to put the bad away from what I did when I was steeped in addiction for almost 41 years. And then I invited in 1992, I think it was, no, maybe 94, not sure. 94, my mom, my dad and mom were diagnosed with cancer a week apart. And my dad would die in 94. And it's been a journey. We have to get past our past. You know, there's no future in our past. There's no future in my past. And as I came to recognize that doors of opportunity are opening in the marketplace, and we've had the opportunity to love the unlovely on Staten Island. Those people, they came here and they had been they're asylum seekers and nobody wanted them. You know, and they don't know where the next meal is coming from or where they're going, and they wound up in a few hotels over here on Staten Island. The city of New York called up my pastor at my church, International Christian Center, and he said, can you feed 300 of them? And they said, you know, we'll get you the food and you can send them, you know, you can send the food to the hotels, you know. My pastor says, no, we're not sending the food to the hotels. They're going to come here. And for that time that they came, we showered them with love, attention, affection, something that was foreign to them because they were so caught up in where they had been that they don't know where they're going. You know, so they're in an area of not knowing what's next. And when you haven't received love in your life and you don't know what that is, you know, Jesus loved us enough to die for us. Well, guess what? He died for them too. And it's up to us to bring a message of faith, hope, and love to, there's like a total of, I think the total was like 600, but we ministered to 300 of them, and we gave them coats, we gave them clothes, we gave them love, we fed them, we had toys for the kids. You know, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. If you're struggling, it's temporary. You know, the enemy wants you to think it's forever, you know. And I had an opportunity to serve, and an opportunity. There was a language barrier, you know, because most of them spoke Spanish, but we have a Spanish-speaking pastor, and he welcomed them. And, you know, the school next door asked us, could we help the kids because they didn't have backpacks, and we had backpacks. And the pastor's attitude was, we're going to open up the doors for them on Thanksgiving and welcome them with open arms. And we had drivers, and they picked them up and everything, and we had security, and we had a lot of food, and they had a lot of fellowship, and we got to serve, you know, and staying in the moment was very important, because you can remember people knew us when we were younger. See, growing up, I didn't have a passion, I didn't have a purpose, and I didn't have a roadmap. And then when Jesus came into my life, I invited him into my heart. And by faith he came, you know, and I didn't know anything about the Bible. I didn't know about true love. You know, love was when your girlfriend told you that she loved you and something good was going to happen. I said, I love you too, because, you know, we were going to have fun. Then the fun didn't become fun anymore, you know. It became routine, and there was no there was like no attachment in the relationship, and the relationships would pass. But it's not like that today. You know, it's a whole lot different. I have gratitude in my attitude. I don't have any motives or agendas, and I legitimately want to help people. You know, some of you know, in 2010, I had a rough year, and I was sitting in my basement. I was at my laptop. It was 1:35 in the morning, and I said, Lord, I'm ready. I said, Lord, I'm willing. I said, Lord, you're able. I lost my job. I lost my income. I lost my apartment, and I wound up in a homeless shelter in Bushwick called Ready, Willing, and Able. Go figure. Lord, I'm ready. Lord, I'm willing. Lord, I'm able. God knew what was going to happen. He needed somebody in there who was willing to make a difference. And we did a show a few months ago. I had been in the hospital. And the Lord said, well, you can look at it like an obstacle and cut yourself off from people, or you can look at it like an opportunity to meet people. And I met people in the shelter, and it was 95% black and Hispanic and 5% other. Guess who the other was? And it was different, you know, and it was real, and sometimes it was real different, because there's bullying going on, and you know, people making fun of you, but we were all there because we didn't have a place to stay. Somebody said, you know, we will not regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. What can I learn from that situation? So I went in there. I was willing, and I was ready, and I was available. And it was this guy. He was getting ready to graduate the program, and he was helping out with a relapse prevention program for the clients, And he suggested to whoever was in charge that Donald would be a good fit for them. And I said yes. And one night, we just shared our experiences and everything. And one night I felt overwhelmed. It was like 20 of them and one of me, and I got overwhelmed, and I got afraid, and I left the room, and I went to where the office was, and I told him, I said, I got overwhelmed, you know. I said I knew it wasn't the right thing to leave, but I left because I needed to reassess the moment. And I wound up going back in, and later on I would graduate from Ready, Willing, and Able, and my pastor and a friend came with us. And they do a real good job. They have it over on Park Avenue, and it's also known as the Doe Fund, Ready, Willing, and Able. It's on Porter and Johnson in Bushwick, right off of Flushing, and near Flushing and Knickerbocker. And it helped me to know that I needed a hand, and I had to ask for that help, even though I didn't like it. I told my pastor, I said, I don't want to go. That Saturday, my friends took me to the shelter. My friend and somebody who worked with homeless services, they introduced me to this guy that was behind the desk. His name was Eddie. He was a nice guy. He would later become a friend. And they had, I didn't like it. It scared me. And I went to Sunday I went to church. Monday I went to Bellevue to get a housing to let them know an HRA number, some kind of, human resources number. And they wanted to send me to Ward's Island. And I looked at them. I says, do I look like I belong on Ward's Island? They said, okay, Bellevue. So I spent 2 nights in Bellevue, and I wanted to get out of there. I didn't want to be there. I was getting upset. I called up the woman. I says, listen, I got to get out of here. They're trying to keep me here. I don't want to be here. So the van just happened to be there. She says, where are you? I told her where I was. She said, don't move. She says, they're going to come. They're going to come and get you. So these 2 guys, they came in and got me. And they said, you're 5th or 6th for a bed. I said, no, I got a bed. I didn't have a bed, but sometimes you speak things out, like, I got a bed, really got a bed. God wants me to have it. I didn't say God wants me to have a bed. I says, my name. I says, I got a bed. I says, why? I says, my name is DHS, Department of Homeless Services. And they said, no, you're 5th or 6th. So he says, go eat lunch. I go to eat lunch, and he comes in, he says, I'm doing your paperwork. You got a bed. I said, see, I told you I had a bed. And he was in shock and awe, and we weren't sure about it, but it turned out that Eddie, on Saturday, saved the bed for Donald because Donald said he was going to come on Monday, and Eddie had the compassion that Donald needed a bed yesterday, and it was in the corrections. It was on the 4th floor, corrections floor, and half the room was corrections, and the other 3 were just regular people. There were 7 people in the room, and I was grateful to have a bed. I didn't care as long as there was a roof over our head and everything. And they would do fire drills, and I had a problem with my knee at the time. I needed a knee replacement. But we can use the past as a springboard to our future. We got past a lot of stuff. We almost died, we almost overdosed, some got shot, some got stabbed, some weren't expected to live. But as long as I stay in a moment and I'm comfortable in the moment, and I just ask God, show me where to go and tell me what to say, I have a sense of peace and comfort, and I want to make a difference, and I want to help everybody. When Jesus took my heart out, he put his heart in. And I love everybody. I don't always like everybody, but he knows who I need to see. And if you're going through a rough time, you could send me an email at donald.schmid54@gmail.com. We're on YouTube. We're on Staten Island Cable, Channel 56, but I believe God chose us, and he chose you to be watching the TV right now, and just say yes, and there's a song that says, keep me in a moment. Just keep me in a moment. And there was another song that I listened to over and over, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. I was going through some rough stuff, I couldn't handle it anymore. Both parents had cancer, and God will make a way, God will make a way, God will make... I didn't believe it. Over 3 times a day for 18 months. God will make a way. Didn't believe it. And it goes, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide. Hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. And I started to believe it gradually, and faith comes by hearing, and hearing something positive. When I heard negative, you'll never amount to be anything, you'll just be like your uncle or something, I believed it. I didn't know God had something for me. I had no intention of doing a TV show, doing a YouTube channel that goes around the world at the speed of light. You hit send, I'm talking to somebody in Singapore. You hit send, I hit send. I'm talking to somebody in Pakistan. Talking to somebody in England. I'm talking to somebody in North Carolina. God's not done with us yet. As long as there's breath, there's hope. And as long as there's hope, you got a shot. Hope for me is honestly offering personal experiences. I went through it, There are no drive-through breakthroughs. We have to go through to get through. And that's how I lived. The pandemic, it was really rough. When you get older, you don't get out of the house as much. And I was going bowling a couple of times a week and going out to lunch sometimes. And then suddenly you're told, you can't go out and you can't go bowling, you can't do this unless you do what we tell you to do. It's like, what happened to freedom of choice, And it bothered me, and the weather gets cold, and, you get achy, and you don't want to go out. I had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago. I was doing laundry on a Saturday, and all of a sudden I got this excruciating pain in my back, and I had to call my roommate to come, to help me bring the clothes home and everything. And I was stubborn. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I kind of knew I had to go. It was just a matter of when I would go. And about 9 o'clock, I just gave in. I said, yeah, okay, let's go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital. They had this really wide, I'm not really that wide. They had a really wide wheelchair for somebody with weigh 500 pounds, and one guy's pushing behind me and everything. And they brought me in, and I believe that the healthcare workers and police department and everybody, they need to be encouraged. So I was in pain, and they wheeled me in, and it says, any allergies or anything? And I said to the woman, it's Saturday night. And it turned the whole atmosphere around with a little bit of levity. And they had wheeled me right in, and I didn't have to wait in the emergency room. I got seen right away. They were having a difficult night. One guy was in isolation and everything, and I got to tell people my story. And I got to pray with one of the nurses, and I got to encourage another one of the nurses, and they were very friendly, and we chatted, and me and my roommate, we made an impression to let them know that even in the pain, you can find a little bit of joy. You know, Jesus died so we could live, and they beat the crap out of him on a cross, and he chose to die so we could live. You know, and then when he was dying, he was on a cross, and he said, Father, forgive them. You know, and there was a guy, he was a criminal, and the other guy he was a criminal too, and one guy said to Jesus, you know, forgive me, you know, and he says, I forgive you. Today you'll be with me in paradise, you know, and God will make a way where there seems to be no way. And it's good to be here, and just stay in a moment. If you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, it's as simple as, Jesus, I believe that you died for me. Please come into my heart. Please forgive me of all my sins. And then you can find that in the Bible, if you choose to, in Romans 10, verses 9 and 10, or Romans verses 8, 9, and 10, you know. But God knows where you're at. Just stay in the moment. It's easier said than done sometimes, but I go to International Christian Center at 1501 Richmond Avenue, and we have a men's breakfast at 8 o'clock on Saturday mornings from 8 to 10. If you want to join us, we've got like 30, 35 guys we get together. It's a men's breakfast, you know. But there's food, there's fellowship, and we have somebody give their testimony and everything. It's just that we all have a story, you know, and we're all going forward. Just go forward, stay in a moment. He's got a plan, he's got a purpose and a passion for you in your life, and just say yes to him, and he'll show you where to go, and he'll tell you what to say. Thank you all for watching. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time on Into the Light. God bless you.